Hi, I'm Michelle and welcome to my channel. What if I told you that early retirement isn't just about money? It's about identity, purpose, and learning how to slow down without feeling lost. When I quit my business at 50, 4 years ago, I thought I was prepared. I had worked hard, saved some money, and planned to build new income streams from my creative passions. But what I didn't realize was how emotional, disorientating, and ultimately transformative that leap would be. I want to share the real things that I wish I knew before retiring at 50. The lessons that go far beyond the spreadsheets and the savings accounts. When I left my business, it wasn't because I hit some magical financial milestone. It was because I was done, completely burned out, mentally, emotionally, and physically. I had built something successful, but I was running on fumes, and I realized that no amount of income is worth the constant exhaustion. So I walked away. I didn't have millions saved, but what I did have was a modest cushion and a belief in myself and a plan to grow my creative side, writing and illustrating children's books, and now starting to create greeting cards and jigsaw puzzles. That decision to bet on myself was the first step towards a different kind of freedom. When I retired at 50, I expected to feel freeing. I imagined waking up without an alarm, sipping coffee in peace, and maybe even feeling a little smug that I'd finally escaped the grind. But instead, it was quiet. It was almost too quiet. For years, my life had been a constant hum of activity. Emails, clients, deadlines, to-do lists. Even though it was stressful, that structure gave my days meaning. It told me who I was. I was the business owner. I was the one people needed, the one who made things happen. And then suddenly, that identity was gone. No one was waiting for my decisions. No phone calls, no meetings, no deadlines, just me. It's strange how something you dream about can also feel unsettling once you actually get it. There were mornings when I would wake up, look around my quiet apartment, and think, what do I even do now? It felt like I had stepped off a speeding treadmill and my body was still moving, but there was nowhere to go. To make things even more interesting, I became an empty nester around the same time. My kids were grown and off living their own lives, and for the first time ever, I was living completely alone. No one else's schedule to revolve around, no noise, no chaos, no obligations. It was freedom, but also a kind of emptiness I hadn't prepared for. I realized how much of my identity had been wrapped up in caring for others and working nonstop. Without that, I felt like a blank slate, and that can be both exciting and terrifying. The days started to blur together. There was no Friday to look forward to and no weekend to earn. I had to find new reasons to get up in the morning, reasons that weren't tied to productivity, because we're taught from a young age to measure our worth by what we do, not by who we are. It took a little while to shift that mindset. I had to learn how to build a new rhythm, one that didn't rely on external pressure. Learning to slow down and to listen to what I actually wanted to do, not what I thought I should do. That became a daily practice. Some days I'd go for long walks with my dog Louie and let my thoughts wander. Other days I would draw and write and just sit on my balcony with a cup of coffee and let the world move around me. It wasn't productive, but it was healing. That in-between space, between the person I had been and the life I was creating, became the foundation for everything that came next. Because before you can build a new chapter, you have to give yourself permission to pause. And that pause, uncomfortable as it might feel, is where clarity starts to grow. It took time to find a new rhythm, one that wasn't built around productivity, but around purpose. Another surprise is how much my friendships changed. When most of your friends are still working full-time, you start to realize you don't have as much in common with them anymore. Their schedules are packed, their weekends are precious, and you're free. At first, it can feel isolating. You imagine people will be happy for you or curious about how you did it, but often they're not. Sometimes they seem even a little jealous, and that's human. I've learned not to take it personally. But there were moments when I felt guilty for having free time or feeling peaceful while others were still in the grind. It's strange to feel grateful and guilty at the same time. What helped was building new friendships with people who shared similar lifestyles, other creatives, entrepreneurs, and women reinventing their lives after 50. And slowly I found a new sense of belonging. Once I got over the initial shock of slowing down, I realized something. I finally had the freedom to rebuild my life from scratch. No one was handing me a schedule anymore, and for the first time, I got to design my days around what actually mattered to me. I started simple with a solid morning routine. That became my anchor. Each day began with fixing a healthy breakfast, enjoying my coffee slowly instead of gulping it between emails, and taking Louie to the dog park. Those quiet walks grounded me. I'd notice the changing seasons, I'd listen to the sounds of the city waking up and breathe, really breathe, for the first time in years. Then I'd come home and work out, nothing extreme. The combination of nourishment, movement, time outdoors, that completely changed the tone for my day. It gave me rhythm again. Not the frantic kind I had when I was running a business, but a calm, centered kind of rhythm that helped me show up fully for what came next. After my morning routine, I set aside time for creative projects, writing and illustrating children's books, sketching ideas, or experimenting with new art styles, just for fun. Now I'm expanding into greeting cards and jigsaw puzzles, projects that light me up and create new streams of income at the same time. I also made it a point to schedule time for connection with my friends and family. Those moments remind me that life wasn't meant to be lived rushing from one task to another. It was meant to be experienced. At first, I thought I needed to fill every hour to feel productive. But I slowly learned that rest is part of the rhythm too. Some afternoons I'd simply read a book, take a walk, or listen to music. That structure, balancing intention with flexibility, gave my days purpose again. And for the first time, I wasn't living life on autopilot. I was living it on purpose. I discovered that I didn't need external validation of a busy calendar or the adrenaline rush of constant deadlines to feel fulfilled. What I needed was a lifestyle that reflected who I had become: creative, calm, and intentional. Now I wake up each morning genuinely looking forward to the day ahead. Not because it's packed with plans, but because I get to choose how I spend that time. That's the real gift of early retirement. The freedom to shape your days in a way that supports your well-being, creativity, and joy. Early retirement isn't just a financial transition, it's an emotional one. You lose the identity that came with work. You question your purpose, you redefine success, and for a while that can feel uncomfortable. But once you get through it, you start to slow down, you stop multitasking, you actually taste your coffee instead of gulping it. I no longer set alarms, I no longer rush from one thing to the next. My life now has a calm rhythm, one that feels natural. And instead of chasing productivity, I focus what truly fills me up. Creative projects, time with loved ones, travel, peace. This stage of life is like exhaling after holding my breath for years. I used to think retirement was about reaching a finish line. Now I see it as a beginning. It's a blank canvas. You get to paint it however you want. But if I could go back and tell my 50-year-old self a few things, here's what I'd say. Be prepared for an emotional adjustment. It's normal. Don't expect everyone to understand your choice. And build a routine early. It helps you stay grounded. And stay connected. Find new communities that reflect the life that you're creating. And most importantly, don't fill your days with busy work. Fill them with meaning, because the greatest luxury of all isn't money, it's time. And how you choose to spend that time determines what this next chapter becomes. Retiring early at 50 wasn't the end of my story. It was the start of a more intentional one. One filled with creativity, calm, and purpose. If you're considering this path or even just dreaming about it, know that it's not about having it all figured out. It's about trusting yourself enough to create a life that feels true to you. Thank you so much for watching.